Yeah, thank you for your kind attention. I'm very happy and pleased that I can talk to you today about the thing that hopefully shows up here in the back. I wonder if this is working now. Okay. Yeah, I did many things in my life already, as you all did probably, and for me it was always important, or it was a big interest to find, let me call it similarities. It's much more than this, but I was always like bored when I did only one thing, only spent time with particular kind of persons or heard a particular kind of music. So I was a musician as well. I made a lot of music in my life, and every time somebody asked me what kind of music you do, and I said, and I had to think what I can reply to this question. And it is a bit like also with my things, with my spiritual interests, let me call them spiritual interests, but I think the term of Kabbalah, or the Arabic one, of Kubul, can put these things well together, because Kabbalah means to receive something, and to receive something you have to have an emptiness within you. You all know this, or some of you know this, to like the glass that has to be empty to be filled. And that is something I found can be applied to everywhere in the universe. You find this also in the biology, and you find this especially in creation. And what Hendrik said in the first talk of our conference was the pronunciation, or you rather called it the uttering, the first uttering of something to create, the articulation. And this is something you have to have some kind of fluctuation within this emptiness in order to create something. This means first you have the emptiness and you go ahead with something opposite. So this means there is a nothingness supposed by the Kabbalists, and this nothingness is also supposed by the Vedic tradition, and you find the writings of the Upanishads. This is something very interesting, I found, and they also have the same model of a nothingness that has to become something by inverting it to something. And if you all know this symbol, and this symbol is the lemniscate. I don't know, is this the right word in English as well? So you have the lemniscate, and the lemniscate is the infinity symbol, and it's also a symbol of, I would say, inducing electric current and a lot of other things to put more energy in something, that to rise amounts of energy. And you have this symbol also in the poetry of Hesiod, as he described the universe when it became from the chaos. And this little talk is pretty chaotic, I will say, because I tried to do something that is actually not possible, to show similarities between biology, between physics, between mathematics, between Kabbalah, religion, between the Upanishads and all this. I tried to put all this together, so it's a bit back and forth what I have here in my slides. I hope you can follow. But actually, this is part of the show, that I want to give you the opportunity that you are the one who's the articulator in this situation when I put all this stuff here and show it to you with my next slide. So this is the second wheel, they call it. So the first wheel was this emptiness, and the second wheel is this rotating infinity. So for most of us, probably chaos means something like really not in order, and something is here and something is there. Some people they may compare chaos with a mess or something, but actually chaos is absolutely everything. but you can't tell where something is because it's the chaos. So it's one huge sea of something we don't know. And that it becomes something, you have to be aware of the self. And that is what is written in the Upanishads, namely that Brahman recognized himself to be, and he said, I am the Brahman, and from this the whole universe was created. And this can be considered as a seed that falls into this chaos, this chaotic everything, and expands from this seed and expands into this circle. And the circle is the easiest way to make a separation between, to build something. And so this is called the golden womb in the Vedic cosmogony. And so the seed and the womb actually is the same thing. The seed is the first idea, the point, the first dimension. And if we want to build the second dimension, we make it easiest way with the circle. So you can't take a sheet of paper and just make a line in the middle and separate one half from the other. You have to make a circle to fulfill this idea of an area. So, and still there is the idea of nothingness, the glass that has to be filled or does want to be filled. And so there's a longing, actually, if we are able, without preconceptions, to go to a talk, to listen to the speaker, and to be empty. I think you are all, it's still, okay, it's 9:30 now, but I think after yesterday, you have the ability to follow this, what I'm talking. That means this vacuum wants to be filled. And this is called in the Kabbalah the Tzimtzum. I like this term very much. It's the contraction, the self-awareness of God, the Creator. You can substitute this term of the Creator with whatever you want, with that fits in your concept of the divine. I call it the Creator because it's creation, and this is what I'm talking about here. So this little thing wants to be filled, and the first thing that happens, there's an opening somehow of this emptiness, of this vacuum to be filled, and it starts to vibrate, it starts to move, and this first movement builds the breath, so that we all find here within us. So we make the same thing when we breathe in. We build this space in our lungs, and then we breathe out again, and then we build something, namely the carbon dioxide. And the carbon dioxide is more than it was before. So we created something. The carbon is something we will see in this further talk again and again, because the carbon is one of some very important substance for the whole universe. So you have this breath, and it's also like this. If you all know this, when you have some things to solve, or you're starting a trip or so, then you pack all your stuff and you make like, all right, I go now. And so this is a bit like this, but it goes ahead, and you make the breath to create your being, that you're alive. And this is again what I mentioned before, with this first uttering of a word, of an articulation to shape something with the breath, because you have to breathe out. What we just saw in the last slide, you have to breathe out in order to create a word. So it's not possibility to breathe in and say something. You can try it. I think you will fail. Maybe it's a whisper or something, but to create really a word, to an articulation, to tell somebody something, you have to breathe out. And this is very interesting, because you have this loud. I mean, it's just I just claim that it is all. I didn't do too much research about this, but I thought it just sounds reasonable that all these little words I wrote here in my illustration have something in common. They all start with this loud, or o, or au, or and they end with the m. So, and even the little baby, the first thing, it's the first uttering of the words, they want to have something to go ahead with their lives, they make the ma, 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 ma. So it's quite interesting that we have this here. And the of course, is a very important syllable. In the Upanishads, you find this as well. It is called the essence of the essence. And so I think we could talk I could give another lecture only about this term of the But I continue now with the vibration I was talking short before. So this first vibration causes the polarity we all live in, like our conscious awareness is built on polarity, the whole universe is built on polarity. There can't be light without darkness, and the light we are talking about regularly in our association, I think this is the light that is visible to our eyes, but we have two of them, and we, again, a polarity. And but actually there's a different light. There's a light that is not, this can't be seen. This is this universal, let me call it just for now, universal something that has to come into a certain shape in order to build light that is visible or build matter in the further steps of creation. So we have the polarity. Most of us, they think of, I don't know, this is what I claim. I think you all know this. There's actually no polarity, that you don't have these two drawers with one is good and one is bad. There's always a degree between both, so they are connected. It's rather our conscious awareness that forces us to do that sometimes. Our body, our senses force us to do that sometimes, that we take the things into two bowls and to say this is good, this is bad, this is bright, this is dark, but actually it's all one thing. But that we can tell that it is something, it has to be in the polarity. So imagine yourself when you are on the surface of a sea, and you look to the left and you look to the right, you would see, okay, the shore ends here and the shore ends there, but actually it's part of the earth, and the earth is round and the earth is a circle, so we only have this little tiny aspect of the whole circle, what we think that is good and bad, but actually it meets each other again in the infinite, or on the other side. And I think also health has a lot to do with this concept, that we are in a certain situation and we want to keep what happened to us that was nice. We had a good experience yesterday and we want to have this good experience later, tomorrow, and we had pleasure yesterday in fear of not having it again tomorrow. And so sometimes it happens that we are very attached to our past, and that we build this polarity, what I just tried to explain with this example of the shore. So we expand it really, really wide, and we have it. We are looking back in the past, what happened in the past. We remind us we are sentimental or whatever, and in fear not to have this pleasure or had this good experience we had in the past, we project something in the future. And so with that, we build this polarity. This is my point of view. So in order to make of this polarity something become alive, I found something quite interesting in the Gnostic writings. It's called the Nag Hammadi. This is the writings that were found in the Dead Sea, the Dead Sea Scrolls. I don't want to get into this too much, but it's quite interesting that in order to build something that is alive, you have to reflect. So reflection is very important for the livingness, the liveliness. There was actually what I already mentioned with the vibration, but it's some kind of vibration. If you have a reflection, you have to move yourself in front of the mirror. You have to move yourself in a certain situation that you can reflect of what you actually did, of what you want to do in the future. And the third step, meaning the first step is the just to repeat it for you, becoming aware of the self. which is quite a project. And the second one is to reflect that. And the third one is to reflect all this together, like the self or what you found out about, and the reflection, and see the relationship between both. And then suddenly this thing becomes alive. And this means you find this liveliness then in all these kinds of trinities we have in the world. We have the positive, neutral, negative, the past, the future, life, death, birth. We have in alchemy we have the three principles of sulfur, mercury, and salt. We have Osiris, Isis, Horus. We have Hades, Demeter, Jupiter, the Holy Ghost, and so on. So this is all. It all has to do, or we can all put this together with this number of 3, with the Trinity. So there, actually, you can't. It's not separate. It's one thing, but it's just the aspects of this one thing, and we need the aspects of the one thing in order to create. I will repeat this sentence probably a couple of times today. So I just thought, I just said that in order to create liveliness, we need the polarity and we need the aspect of time. And if we have the aspect, if we put the aspect of time as well, and if we are aware that there is no drawers with good and bad, and that is all like just a question of the degree, we can derive from that the vibration symbolized by the sinus wave, and therefore we have the irrational number, like to work with that in trigonometry. In the mathematics we have the number of the cosmos, the macrocosmos I called it, the P. I called it the number of the macrocosmos because the Great Pyramid in Giza has this ratio of the height, and so I missed this word in English, but you know what I mean, like the. Thank you. And so it is necessary that we have this aspect of time together with the aspect of polarity to make something alive. Here again we have the Trinity. I show it now with the triangle. And the triangle, of course, when it's trigonometry, it is the thing I suppose we all learned this in school. The triangle, the calculations of the angles in this geometrical structure. So what is interesting is that this triangle you also find in the prisma when you refract the light from white light to the 7 colors. And you can go ahead with this. You can imagine, I don't know, it's just a concept that you use in another step. You use a prisma with 7 sides, not with 3, and then you come to a particular formula I found. It is, I don't know, it's a little bit mathematics, but I think you can all follow this. It is 2 and the power of n. This means like 2, I have here all the n's. And what I found is that I call it the granularity of light, that you first have this infinite light that has that you can't see actually. And the first refraction is the polarity, and it becomes the 3. So we have the 3 colors we can put together with additive or subtractive synthesis of color. And then we have the second refraction that takes place with the number of 3, and then we have the 7 colors. And when we go ahead with this, it becomes bigger and bigger with the recursive function. You call this in informatic technology, for example. You put again the result you have from this calculation. You put again in this function, And then you get, you see this, I put it here like, I mean, all the time, the result I have here in the second column, and put it again, and it becomes granular, more and more granular. And when you see this amount, it's rather an amount, maybe some of us know this, it is the amount of what we find in the ratios we find in the molecular structure or in the atomic structure. So this is very high amounts, and we find this also in the macrocosmic way. So all that has to do with matter has to do with these high numbers. And this is a little formula I found in my research about this phenomenon of what actually this trinity means and what we can do with it. And I go ahead with the trinity. So it's has a lot to do with trinity I talk today, and multiples of this number of 3. When we use the true principles of the receiving principle and the bestowing principle, we come to this, when we want to build something that is matter, or what the creator does is to put these divine principle together with this human principle, or with the goddess earth principle, Gaia, together. Then we get this symbol of the hexagram we found in various religious and various spiritual traditions. And from this hexagram you can also derive a lot of other shapes. And of course the cube you can derive from it, because the cube has the 6 sides. And there is in the Kabbalistic writing called the Sefer Yetzirah, there is the book is called Sefer Yetzirah. You find the cube of space, it is called, and with this cube of space, the creator is supposed to create the whole universe and everything that exists. You use the Hebrew letters for that. So, but this is quite a different subject. I can't go into this too much, but if you want to write it down, it's called the Sefer Yetzirah. It's very worthwhile to get into this and study this book. So, when we use the circle as a shape of creating something in the easiest way, we always end up in the 6. We always have the number of the 6, and we have this hexagonal structure. And we go ahead with it. If we take a little circle and do this by ourselves, we come to this shape. You all know this, I think. It's the flower of light. I mean, this is what I try to show here. And this flower of light, of course, is a healing symbol. I saw Julianne; she uses this for her in her light, in her lamps for the treatment. Is this one of the shapes that you find in the sacred geometry? And you can derive from this sacred geometry shape. You can derive also the tree of life we have in the Kabbalah. I don't know how many people know this shape of these dots here. Okay, so more than a half. So there are different ways to show this. It's called the Sephirot tree also, and this is very important for the Kabbalistic learning, and also it's quite interesting if you go deeper into the structure, because now something happened wrong here. Okay, I thought that there's another slide. So anyway, because you have in all these particular positions, you have some kind of archetype, I would say, and the connections of these archetypes, they are analog with the tarot cards, with the Hebrew alphabet, and also the archangels they live in this. They're supposed to live in this particular positions, and you find a lot of other interesting things. The planetary movement, and you have the divine archetypes of the Greek mythology you find there. So you find a lot of things in this tree of life, and it is 10. And then, so we can derive the number of 10 from this. This is actually a step further. So we have the 10 fingers, we have the 10 toes, and so on. So everything is built off the 10. and that's why I show this little structure here. So why do I show it? Because the four sides we have in the material world, I claim, and if we put these four sides together, it's a very easy to recognize. It's not like hard to recognize that it's 10 points, but you can find so many truths in this little concept of the Tetractys. So this is from Pythagoras. I think this is the only shape that was delivered from his teachings. There's no delivering from his teachings, but you can find plenty of things we were just talking about. You have on the first level, you have this oneness. Then it goes into the polarity, and then we put this third dimension of time within it. So we have the past, we have the present, we have the future, and if we go again one step further to make something, if we put another dimension to this triangular shape of liveliness, we clot what we have. We clot this vibration to a physical structure, to the material world actually, and this is, you see this here with these four elements. You have the earth, you have the water, you have the air, and you have the fire. And all them together, they build a 10. And so this is remarkable for me when I found this first time, because I thought, okay, we have the 10 fingers, so actually we can do anything, and I don't know, maybe we are just at the moment we are in a transition time where we can learn how to make use of these principles, how we can make use of language, of certain kinds of words. They make things occur, even physical. So this is a jump into something different, but still, these two handsome guys, they made a lot of work, and you all know Albert Einstein, of course, with the theory of relativity. So he found out that energy and mass, that energy and materia, that they are equal actually. This is this very, very famous formula of E equals m and c in the square. And a little bit further, almost at the same time, Max Planck found that energy is derived from the frequency with the Planck constant. I think this is a typo. Yeah, this is a K. And a little bit later, Louis de Broglie, the Duke of de Broglie, he found that actually he just put these two, he did a lot of work for that, of course, but he put just these two equations together, and that was the first time that he has shown a method to derive one from the other. What I just said, that to derive the light from the matter, or the other way around. So you just can. This is just the solutions for this formula. So if you want to have the F, you can use it like this. So this is just what they found, and of course this is applied. You have this in television or in the old televisions. Like you can. Calculate the amount of energy that is from when you break the electron stream, and that the electrons, they come to the surface, then you have this energy level. So they have a certain kind of energy level of vibration, and then they are stopped suddenly, and this becomes light then. So this higher amount of materia. This is part of the relativity theory, and with help of de Broglie, we found that matter and light is actually the same thing. So, and in the beginning, this is this famous sentence: there was light, and there was a nothingness, a fluctuation of this chaos. And now we have the same thing what I explained in the beginning of my talk. in the creation of the world, but there are different opinions about how it actually took place, if there was one big bang or if there were many little bangs, or if it's just a huge sine wave that goes up and down, the universe expands and comes back again to a tiny thing and expands, and probably it's a little bit like this, because we don't know what happens on the other side of the black hole. So maybe this is all universes, they take place there. So most important is the first idea of rishons. The rishon is a term from the Hebrew, and you have I don't know how many of you know the tohu vabohu or tohu vavohu. You heard of this? The void, and the tohu vabohu is the void and the chaotic. That was just beginning, and they took this term into quantum physics, and they thought, okay, we have to have a concept smaller than the quarks, and in order to build these little quarks, we use another concept with also a trinity of these tohu and vohu rishons. But as I said, the opinions about this concept, they are not always the same, and we have also the string theory that says that it's actually within these the tinier you get into the matter, you find the chaos again. So, but it's just the concept for quantum physics and for corpuscular physics, that you can find out how the little elementary particles work and what they do. So this is just a short overview what time it was when, if you like, when the universe was created, when the Big Bang took place. We have the temperature as well here. So, and you see it was rather, from the beginning, it was rather more light, and it became more and more structured into certain shapes of a triangular structure and of a hexagonal structure in order to become matter. So, and you find this trinity again here. You have these tohu and vohu rishons. They build together, three of them, either a up or a down quark, and you have also these trinity. When you put them together, the up and down quarks, you have the neutrons, you have the protons, and these tohu and vohu rishons, they build also the electrons. And again, you have the atomic structure is the core that consists of neutrons and protons, and surrounded by, in these orbitals, of electrons. And the most simple structure of a molecule might be the water. It's also a trinity, if you like. The carbon dioxide that we breathe out is also a trinity. But I put here the carbon, the hydrogen, and the oxygen, because this is the most important three, besides helium, elements that exist in the universe. So back again, what they found in 1997 in the Stanford University in California was Adrian Medicinos, and he was a spokesman of this team. They made this research with two lasers, and they tried to improvise somehow this Big Bang, and just like really to make a matter of light. What I was talking before about de Broglie, and what he said that you just can equal light and matter, that is the same. And they put huge amounts of laser light, and the thing is, you can't do something of nothing. So there has to be some kind of a fluctuation that you in order to produce new matter. But they just put one electron. They had this in this experiment. They put the lasers to meet one electron here, and they had a very strong gamma ray in this experiment. And from this we have two new little, namely an electron and a positron, like matter and antimatter. So they were able to do this just for a very minimal time only, and they put 1 trillion watts inside it. So this is, I think this is like all the energy that is used in all United States within 1 day or so. They did it like just in these trillions of seconds. So I think we live in a material world anyway, so we don't have to produce more matter, I think, and use so much energy to waste. But it was quite interesting that these guys, they found that this is true. So that was one of the proofs that what de Broglie and Einstein and Planck said. I say it like this now. And the opposite, like the other way around, is not to build matter, but to build energy, what takes place in the sun at this time, any time. So the sun is always shining. It's only our concept, what I learned from Carl Rieberg, that we live in this geocentrical view of the world, and actually we should switch over to a solar consciousness, because the sun is always shining. So, and again, you have the 3 here. You have the 3 things that build something new. The 3 things that are built from the polarity. You're in the sun, in the fusion of the cores of hydrogenium, of deuterium. I hope this is the right, and I hope this is in English also right. I think you understand this. And tritium, and they come together in this high energy, in this high pressure, and they build new matter, namely helium, and they build 1 neutron, and they build a photon. So again, we have the polarity, and they come together, making this huge, this vast living being called the sun, and it produces our sunlight. We have the 3 coming from the 2 here again. So if we look at the sun and at the stars, because the stars are all together, they are more or less like the center of our solar system, where when you look at this in a wide range, in the long term, the sun will end up after its collapse in a huge. It's not such huge. I think it's smaller than the Earth, a ball of carbon, and it is quite impressive, because what I showed before was the hexagonal structure, the 6 namely, and to make something that is material, to build this, just repeat it. You have the triangular shape coming from the divine, and you have the receiving principle, which is also triangular, the Shiva and the Shakti, and they are together, give the 6, and so all that we have in the end, and what the universe will end in, it will be freezed carbon, mostly. And of course, carbon, you all know the diamond, and the diamond also has this hexagonal structure. And it has the hexagonal crystalline structure. And and I found that the 6 is something really important to describe the material world that is dead, unfortunately, but it has a lot to do with all that has to do with the sun, has to do with the 6, what has to do with gold has to do with the 6, also the heart and the Tiferet, it's called, within the the tree of Kabbalah. It is also positioned here in the 6. I showed you before. I placed this Sephirot tree within the flower of life. And just to show this short, the Chaldeans found about this, that it just has this. And we have again the 6 in the glucose molecule when it is in an aqueous solution. And everybody knows that glucose is very important for our energy in the body and the exchange between plants and humans and animals. And what I mentioned before, this coagulation, this clotting of these two principles, they take place in two ways. The either way is that water and carbon dioxide, they are combined and they produce through the photosynthesis, they build the sugar. And again, you have a lot of this number here. I mean, actually, it's not right how I did it here. It has to be a little bit below. Maybe if you remember the chemistry exercise you made in school, you have this. And the other way around, again, you have this number. And it produces the energy to provide us with warmth, distributed by the heart. Which is also the position of the sixth, the Tiferet, namely. So I made this little illustration here in order to see what I mean, just to show it again. There's energy to put into this model of these two trinities. They have to be clotted, have to be coagulated into this shape. It becomes the sugar, the glucose molecule, which has this hexagonal structure. And if we breathe in and breathe out, we separate this structure again in the trinity and produce energy in this way. So, and this is quite interesting because I thought, do we actually need to eat then? I mean, if it's all based on this, if it's just this exchange, maybe we can just get the energy through our eyes and through our bodies, just have it onto our skin and just look into the sunlight. I mean, I don't want to recommend you in order to to achieve something. I mean, I don't want to say you have to look in the sunlight to get energy, but this is a question I wonder, and I saw a lot about some phenomena of people, they only live off the sunlight. So actually everything that we eat is sunlight. All the energy we take from our food is sunlight. Of course, there are minerals and everything. You want to ask something?
No, I'll tell you something. There are many people in Switzerland, and there's one in Quebec. A woman, she lives on sunlight.
Oh yeah.
So it is.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I heard this. That's true. Yeah. So and this is actually it's all the energy we take is sunlight energy. It's just a different form of it. The plants, they grow, we eat the plants, and if we eat meat, it's the same thing. The animals eat the plants regularly, and so all the energy we get from the sun, and maybe in the future this is a more developed technique, let's say, in order to get our energy without eating. I think this needs a lot of exercise and belief, of course, but I heard of these people in India and in China and in different other countries that there are some people, they don't drink, they don't eat anymore. They make some kind of a synthesis of what I was talking before in order to produce their matter, what they need to live and produce the warmth and the energy in order to survive. So again, here we have the tree of life I was talking about before. The fourth is just a reminder. You have the four again. You remember the shape of the Tetractys of Pythagoras, like the last one, or the material world. We derive from this four. We derive the seven elements, the seven alchemistic elements, and I just try to put this together with the four forces we have in the physics. You have the electromagnetism. Of course, everybody knows the light is the electromagnetic, infrared, ultraviolet, and so on. We have the strong force and we have the weak force. These are the forces that interact with the particles within the core. And you have the gravitation, of course, and there is the theory of the unified field, that this is all comes from one, and it's just a matter of maybe of time to find this big formula that makes the wedding of quantum physics and relativity theory. But you have this 4 again in this shape of the I think you recognize it. This is also the flower of light. I just put it like in this shape because this is the regular structure of this tree of light. Tree of life or tree of light, whatever you want. It's both the same. And why I show this is because we have this structure in the human body, and so the human body, of course, it's a phenomenon. You have the biology of the human body, but it's also the human body is also an astral being, like a perfect copy of what is happening in the whole universe. Some of you might know this, and in Kabbalah you can apply this structure of the tree of life to the human body, and the goal is actually to have this divine trinity, to find this in our consciousness, to get aware of ourselves, to receive the enlightenment. And so you have all these 10 points again. This is the number 6. You count it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is represents the body, soul, and mind principles. And this is the tree of life. It's another illustration I made. So you have these 4 levels. What I said, this is the world of action, the lowest level, the world of formation, that something becomes a shape, the world of creation, meaning the inspiration to do something actually at all, and the world of the supernal, like this consciousness that exists not within us, not within our physical body, but this is the interconnection or the exchange between our higher soul that exists, that is not separate from the Creator. And what is interesting is that you have the 7 chakras as well here. You have the 7 levels. And now it becomes, again, interesting because if you put into the number of 6 in this hexagonal shape, another spot, then the thing becomes alive again. This matter becomes alive. So actually, liveliness is the light, and if we clot it, it becomes dead and becomes matter. But we can make this matter alive, and that's what we all are. We are alive matter, and so in this shape you see all the connections between the body. Again, this is the heart, this is the sexual hormones, this is our physical body, represented by the feet that we stand on the ground. You have all the connections in between. So this is a huge concept. You can study. It's very worthwhile to study it. You can look at it for hours, and you find again and again new things in it.
Selim, going back to that last diagram, what's it standing on?
Yeah, I put it on the temple of Jerusalem. This is the 3 pillars. This is the 3 pillars. It's the Boaz and the Yachin, and this means like it is the taking force and the pushing, like the bestowal and the correction. So that's what always takes place. If we have a bad time in our lives, there's some kind of correction. I don't believe in punishing force, of course. It's just a correction. So if something went wrong, actually we shall say, yes, give me more, please, and then the things stop. And there's also this that the Creator draws us to Himself, which is a bestowal, of course, because He gives them. So it's always these 2 principles. We could compare this with this snake principle that goes upward, and the sword that divides, the snake that brings together that brings things together. So these are the 3 pillars, and this is the pillar of balance. I just put these 3 Hebrew letters here because they represent these 3 paths. So I think I could talk about this structure, only this structure, for 1 week, at least. Every day I could fill a whole day only with this structure. So this, there are so many concepts in it, and it's a pity I can't go too deep into this, because for all of you, you don't know this structure. It's you should study. I mean, at least you should have a look at it and become. I was very astonished when I found that the tarot has to do with it and a lot of other things, and that the cosmos has to do with it, and the Hebrew letters. So the Hebrew letters are pretty important for these concepts. Of course, the other letters as well, because the Hebrew letters, they originally derived from the Phoenician alphabet. The Phoenician were this, I don't know, maybe they were fishermen, and they were going on in all the seas, and all the alphabet we have in the world, they are all derived from the Phoenician ones. So this Phoenician is very essential. And some clever heads, they found very long time ago in Mesopotamia, the Chaldeans, they found that the planetary movements on certain hours you can find an analogy with a particular number. And as I said before, you recognize it's again the shape of the tree of life. So you have the first movement above, then you have this is the oneness. Then you have the first movement here, and then it starts with the planets. It's the chemical symbols for the planets. You have Saturn, you have Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon, and the Earth. Yes, and of course, the Saturn is the head and the senses, and the Saturn is also the highest level you can reach in the initiation of the Mitras. In the Mitras mysteries, the highest initiation is the Father, and this is symbolized by Saturn. So this is why it is here. You have when you look at the meanings of course you have to be a little bit into the mythology of Greek mythology, but you can see that this is quite interesting. That in the middle you have the sun and you have the moon, that are the balancing two orbs, and you have on the left, the left side is supposed to be the mother's side, the right side is supposed to be the father's side, and the father's side, of course, we have on the right we have it's opposite, it's the other way around. So it's like this. I have them here. So you have the of course, Jupiter is the father, the godfather of the other gods in the Greek pantheon. But it's rather the one who takes you to you, and of course Venus, the goddess of beauty. And on the other side you have the Mercury. This is also supposed to be a thief, and so it's rather the masculine principle. I don't want to say that all masculine are thieves, but you have it's for marketing and all this. This is the principle of this planet. Could you say it louder?
The numbers, like Saturn's not number 1.
Okay, yeah. Yes, I forgot this actually. Saturn is 3, and it's amazing because it looks like a 3 a little bit, no? The chemical symbols. And this is 4, Jupiter, and it's also similar to this symbol. You have the 5 for Mars, and this is quite interesting. When we look at the Pentagon, for example, it has the shape of the 5, and the Sun is number 6. That's what I said. This Sun principle. 7 is Venus. 8 is Mercury, and we all know these two snakes in this Caduceus that Mercury holds in his hands. We have the Moon, number 9, the baby that is 9 months in the mother to grow before it comes to the Earth. And the Earth, I would say it's 10, because it's all the physical word I said. We have the 10 fingers, 10 toes, and so on. So we have the same thing in the humancy, when you read from the palm. The longest finger, again, is the Saturn. It's the middle finger. The pointer is Jupiter, Mars, the upper palm, Sun, the ring finger, Venus, thumb, and the lower left palm. Mercury, the pinky, Moon, is the lower right palm. So we find all the. It's just an image. In the Bible, in the Torah, it is written that God built us in His own image, and I would say has a lot to do with it. When you go deeper into all these things, what I try to show here in this short time, you see that there is something that is really true with it, and so of course you know the chakras. I believe you know the aura. So, what I was always wondering was why this actually took place. Why is there creation, and what for? And why are we here? And all these questions, we all ask that a lot. And it's just this wish to fulfill something and the wish to bestow. And this is something that has been, we forgot this actually, because I mean, a lot of people in the world, at least in the civilized, in the Western world, if you invite somebody to something, they say, "Oh no, thank you." So it's a habit. A lot of people I would claim they say that. So actually, it's not in the way the Creator who created the universe, because He was like happy to create new things. That's why all these things happen. All the principle of creation is the wish to bestow something different, to bestow. A creature in order to become alive, and so it has a lot to do in Kabbalah with bestowal and receiving. So if you're not willing to receive, the bestowing stops immediately, and this is the same for healing. If you don't take your situation as it is, if you try to avoid with everything, if you try to cut it off or whatever, the problem becomes bigger. You can't avoid it, but this is actually what the regular. This is actually what happens many times, that we try to avoid what we actually have to deal with. It's so from the 6 I come to the 7. What I said, that you can make of this material world, of this material shapes, and of this matter, you can make something become something. You can make something of it to become alive, that it is alive afterwards. But you need somehow a kind of an energy, and I would call it magnetism, and of course it is magnetism that we have in the light. It is electromagnetism, and I don't know. I think there is no difference between electricity and magnetism. It's just a question of the phase when you look at it in a circuit of electricity. You have this circuit, but actually it's the same. So magnetism and electricity, I claim it is the same ways. And in order to make something to become alive, you need this magnetism. And I think the soul also, the soul that comes from, I suppose, I claim, I read a lot about this, that we have this in the Egyptian mythology, we have this in the Theosophy, we have this in Kabbalah, we have this in Sufism, that the soul is separate into 7 parts. I'll talk about this a little later. And that they all have to do with the magnetism. What is my time? I mean, I'm a bit confused because I started later. It's about 2 hours? It's about 1 hour. So I'm through with it pretty fast. I mean, I told you what I told you. I said the first thing is that we have, if there's something, there is this wish to bestow, and this wish to bestow creates a kind of a vessel that can be filled with something. And when you remember, I was talking about these 4 levels of fire, air, water, and earth, and these they are created in this way with this kind of magnetism. The first step is to create this vessel. In this case, it's the supernal world, the world of the fire. And it is created in order to fill it with liveliness. The fourth step is this liveliness is going on and going ahead and building a new vessel to be filled. And again, once again. So this takes place for all the 4 levels with this magnetism. So all these red arrows I have here, I call them the magnetism of our soul. And the 4th level is the material world, the earth. And then we have this living being, the creature, that is able to do the same thing in her world with her means. This is an illustration I made from Agrippa Cornelis Nettesheim to show the same shape here, so that we are cosmic beings. We can do everything that takes place in the universe, in creation. We can do this also in our lives. We have this structure of the spiral, of the circle. And we find the magnetism everywhere. We find it in the sun, we find it in the earth, and of course we find it in the heart. And the magnetism is caused by the iron that is in the sun. And as I said before, I consider the sun not only as a huge fireball, but it is a living being that influences with its own intelligence our living here on the planet. And of course the planet that we are all come from controls our lives, and we have the heart that controls our lives and protects us from influences from outside. This is what the earth does. She protects it, or her. She protects itself with the magnetic fields in order to not to get too much of the proton winds that come from the sun. So here again, what I before mentioned is the self, the monad. There are supposed to be 40 billion monads circling around the planet. And at some point, if they feel like reincarnating again, they come into this. They come through these 7 levels to the earth. And so it's not like that the physical body has a soul. Not for me. It is rather that the soul has a body. It becomes a body. It becomes this wheel of a body, this vehicle to make the experiences on this planet. I say monad. Yes. This is German. I mean, I wonder, well, it's English too?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have this level. You have the self, like this, the Atman from the Vedic tradition. You have the mind, the thinking, this life force that makes the thing to become alive, which is regularly considered as prana or chi or ki or the ruach from the Kabbalah. And then the wishes start to arise, and like our animal soul, if you like, the ego, and we have the astral body that is connected with the planet, with the planetary movements, meaning the date and birth, the date when we was born, and the astrological influence on this date, and our physical body, of course. So the physical body I also consider as a soul, actually. And it is for me very important. It was always this was also the inspiration for my talk, that I try to find similarities, not things that differ in between different traditions, different sciences. I try to put everything now into this small talk about biology, about quantum physics, about religion, and try to find similarities and to show that all is one. And if we try to do this with every person we meet every day and in our lives, So this means if we look at everybody the same way, if we don't judge somebody, then we are able to become light for other people. And that's why I have this saying here, the light of the body is the eye. Therefore, when thine eye is single, thy whole body also is full of light. Thank you very much. But this is actually what the regular. This is actually what happens many times, that we try to avoid what we actually have to deal with. It's a